have with us this evening Swami Sarvapriyananda, Revered Maharaj, and Professor Ishwaran, and dear friends. I'm very glad to be here this afternoon with all of you. In fact, Maharaj had suggested it earlier also when I had visited a few months ago that I should come and speak to you. But somehow we got this opportunity this afternoon, and I'm glad we have got this opportunity. So thinking about what I should say, since most of you are young people, either on the verge of entering into your professional careers or you're already in your professional careers, I was thinking something practical from the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, which might be useful to you right now. Or we could go the other way, into Vedanta philosophy. So I wanted to know what you would like. But anyway, let me speak about 3 great powers which we have. Swami Vivekananda tells us about that, and we have these powers and we don't know about them, and hence we do not use them. 3 great powers which can make a tremendous difference to our lives starting today. Professional lives, personal lives, social lives. So what are these 3 great powers? First of all, those who have seen some of my talks on YouTube, you'll know I speak about importance of concentration. Swami Vivekananda, he used to say the difference between an ordinary person and a great person lies in the degree of concentration. And when I first read this, I was not convinced. Sirf concentration क्या इतना फर्क होता है? I mean, between an ordinary person and a great person like Swami Vivekananda, there's so much of difference. Why only concentration? Once I saw Shirish Maharaj. He's a very brilliant young monk. Not so young now, but he was All India second in his IIT, Joint Entrance Examinations. And brilliant all throughout. Once, I saw him studying. He was sitting on a bed and reading a book, and I walked past his room and I asked him, "What are you reading?" In Hindi, "Kya padh rahe hai Maharaj?" And he didn't reply. He didn't see me, that I'm standing in front of him. He didn't see that. And I went forward, asked him once more. He didn't react. His foot was extended, so I caught hold of his big toe and shook it. And I said, "Kya padh rahe hai?" You won't believe it, I'm touching this person's body. He can't feel it. Such tremendous absorption in what he is reading. And only when I went to the book and I lifted the book to see what it is, he got a shock. There I understood the difference between, see, as a scholar, as a student also, an extraordinary student and an ordinary student. Swami Vivekananda himself had extraordinary powers of concentration. You have read his life. So many stories are there. There's the story, when we were children, we used to read this comic book of Swami Vivekananda where in America he goes in a shooting competition with some other boy standing on a bridge. Egg shells were floating by and he shot all the shells. And the boy said, "How long have you been shooting?" And he said, "This is the first time I've handled a gun." Concentration. That story about the Encyclopedia Britannica where he was reading and Sharat Chandra came and asked him, he said it's impossible for a person to read all these big fat volumes in one life. And Swami Vivekananda said, "I have already read 9, I'm on the 10th volume, you can ask me anything from an encyclopedia." And Sharat Chandra actually did randomly pick out the volumes and ask questions, and Swami Vivekananda replied to all those questions to the satisfaction of Sharat Chandra, and Sharat Chandra was amazed. How is it possible? And is it possible for everybody to do that? In fact, Meerut, once Swami Vivekananda and Swami Akhandananda, they were traveling throughout India, and he was staying outside Meerut. Akhandanji used to go to the Meerut library to get books for Swami Vivekananda, and after 1 or 2 days would return them. And the librarian said, "Swami, you are not reading the books. Itna jaldi koi padh hi nahi sakta hai." And Akhandanji said, "It is not for me, it is for my brother disciple, Swami Vivekananda. Jo bhi hai, wo nahi padh raha hai. He's not reading, just flipping through the pages and returning it." And then when this was reported to Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda accompanied Akhandanandaji and went back to that library And the same incident, he told the librarian, the librarian picked out those books, asked questions, Swamiji replied to all of that. Now, why I'm telling you is very interesting. A few years back, a professor from Meerut University was visiting Belur Math. And she said that library is still there. And over the librarian's chair, there's a picture of Swami Vivekananda there in that library. So, concentration is a tremendous power which makes a difference in our lives. Focus. Just 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit London on a conference organized by the government of India on the Bhagavad Gita. And because I'm interested in studies in universities and colleges, so I decided if I've come to England, I should see Oxford and Cambridge. So I went to Cambridge, and there was this boy, a student, who is from India, he's an ex-student of Vidya Mandir. I knew him. So I had told him earlier that if I ever go there, I never thought I would go there. Tum humko ghuma ke dikhana. And he is he's doing PhD in string theory. And his guide in PhD is Professor Michael Green. You've heard of Stephen Hawking? So Stephen Hawking is retired. Stephen Hawking's successor in the Lucasian chair is Michael Green. The first professor of that chair was Isaac Newton. So, and I went there, he was there, he showed me around. Just by the way, it's not relevant. आपको पता है Newton's tree, apple tree? हम लोग सब सुने हैं. I always thought it was a story. But it's actually there. They showed me this is the Newton's tree. It's not the original tree, but it's descended from उसी का चारा लगा हुआ है. Though the actual incident did not occur there in front of Trinity College, but they have put a descendant of the tree in front of Trinity College where Newton studied and taught. Anyhow, so this boy, he showed me around, he took me to his department of mathematics and theoretical physics. And beautiful ambience of studying and everything. I asked him, how do you work here in Cambridge University in such an elite department? How many hours a day? General questions. How do you study? What is the way of teaching? And how many hours a day do you put in? Just imagine, he just thought and said, Swamiji, दिन में तो 16-17 घंटा पढ़ते हैं. I work for 16-17 hours here in the department, study. And he says, every time I sit with my guide, we learn through discussion. I ask him questions, he asks me questions. If he cannot understand something, he asks me to explain it to him. Like this, a very friendly relationship. So when he was discussing it, I said, this way, how long do you have a conversation with your guide? He said, every conversation is 4, 5, 6 hours. And even after that, it does not end. There is a bicycle, and he goes to his hostel by a bicycle. And he says, when I go on the bicycle, I'm thinking about, I should have said this, ye to कहना था, भूल गए. How I will reach my room and switch on the computer and email sir. And his guide, who lives in London, he says, when I go to my room and open the computer to send an email to sir about what I had thought just now on the cycle, I find already he has sent an email. He was driving back to London thinking about that. He has a new idea which is sent back to me. Now that is absorption. It's not just 16-17 hours. It's just, he said that 16-17 hours which I study daily for the last 5 years I've been doing, it's not out of any routine or any kind of discipline. आपने पूछा तो मैंने सोच के बताया हाँ ऐसा ही होता है सब 16-17 घंटे. It's absorption, a passion. He loves doing it. आप दूसरा option दोगे तो भी he will not take it. Anyhow, because he's a student, he has got the student pass. So he took me to places where visitors cannot go, through this corridor and that corridor, and suddenly made me stand in front of a door. Simple, ordinary office door. And I asked him, ये क्या है? And he said, आप देखो क्या लिखा हुआ है door पर, Professor Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking's office. So I was expecting him to roll in with a chair, with a wheelchair, but I did not see him that day. Once in a while he comes, he's retired. Focus. Power of absorption. I've seen one thing which differentiates an extraordinary student, an extraordinary scholar from the average is the ability to focus, to fiercely concentrate and hold that concentration. There was this book on concentration, Rapt, R-A-P-T, Rapt. I mentioned it in one of my lectures, I think. R-A-P-T, rapt, being wrapped, absorbed in something. And very interesting thing is, where this author, she mentions that the best symbol for concentration that she can think of is a cobra with upraised hood, with a flared hood. In the symbol of the Ramakrishna mission, you will have the swan and the wavy waters and the lotus, and encircling and rising sun, and encircling the whole thing, this serpent with a raised hood. And she explains why. She does not know anything about Ramakrishna mission or Vivekananda, but she explains why she thinks it's the best symbol for concentration. She says that when you see that snake with the raised hood, with an expanded hood, you can see the complete focus on the prey. Normally the snake does not do that to catch the prey, it's just like a threatening gesture. But symbolically, think about it symbolically. It is focused completely on the prey, the frog or the mouse which the snake is going to catch, completely, intensely bearing down on that prey. Aisa karke to. That is the first part of concentration. To bear down on something. Object of concentration. It may be a book, it may be something you're thinking about, some work you're doing. First point. Second point is, as if the hood, jo phela hua hai, it's cutting out all distractions from the world. Have you seen little children studying? Sometimes, they study like this. Aap log bhi padhte ho aise karke. What are you doing actually? You are blocking out distractions from the world. It's a psychological attitude that I don't want to be disturbed. That's the second point. Cutting out distractions from the world. And the third point is important. It is holding on. All of us can concentrate for a few minutes, for maybe 15-20 minutes at the most. But to hold on for hours, to do that for day after day, month after month, year after year, that is concentration. So these three things, these are three components of concentration. Intense focus on the object of concentration, blocking out all distractions from the world, and holding on to that object of concentration for an extended period of time. Hours and hours and hours. When I was a little boy, my father had brought home a book. Come in. Sit down. You heard of Lord Mountbatten? He was the last Governor General Viceroy of India before independence. It was his life. A big book. And I was too young to read such a big English book at that time. But I still remember till today. I was looking at the photographs. There was a full photograph, black and white photograph of the Viceroy. He's pouring tea. Cup se saucer mein dal rahe hain. Chai. And that's all. Niche likha hua hai. The Viceroy pours tea with his characteristic concentration. Chai is pouring tea with his characteristic concentration. This thing that every little action we do with tremendous focus. Swami Vivekananda says, the secret of concentration, to do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. Swami Vivekananda says, to do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. You see, we have a question. Why is it? What happened? Why is it that we have to do everything with the fullest possible concentration? Why not, when I'm studying, I'll use full concentration, but when I'm talking with my friend or taking a walk or watching a movie, why do I need full concentration? And Swami Vivekananda answers this question. He says, remember, you have only one mind. Remember, his exact words were, remember, it is the same mind. You don't have two minds. You have only one mind. Our Satyarupanji, he explained this. He asks young boys that, your father, he shaves with a blade. With that blade, if you sharpen a pencil, after that, will your father will be able to use that blade for shaving? No, because that blade has lost its edge. It becomes blunt. Similarly, this mind, from the morning till the night, if I spend it and do whatever the mind wants me to do. What will I do? Should I study now? No, let me watch something on the TV now. Then will I go to class? No, I'll bunk the first period and go for the second period. Then in the evening, what should I? Whatever the mind wants, I'm doing throughout the day. Evening, when I sit down to study, At that time, when I say, now I have to study, padna hai isko, kal exam hai, or later on something is there. It is a big fat, maybe law book or something. And the mind says, no, I will not study. Why? Throughout the day I am having fun. And now you want me to do this boring thing? If you force the mind to study, you will feel sleepy. Mind so jata hai. Mind will try to distract you this way and that way. It's because we have let the mind do whatever it wants throughout the day. Now when you want it to concentrate, it will not concentrate. Rather, if we make a habit of concentrating, doing everything that we do with full possible attention, make it a habit, then you will see. You see, sometimes those who are very successful in any field of life, you will find they are very intense personalities. Whenever they talk, they walk, whatever they are doing, they are generally very alert and aware. Maybe they are always thinking about their subject, that's also possible. But generally, they are very conscious livers. They live in a very conscious way. So, concentration. If later on, if you have questions, we'll go more into how we can increase concentration. Some insights from positive psychology. This is the first great power. The second great power which I want to tell you about this afternoon is the power of making decisions. You see, we have this great power of deciding to do what we will do, what we will say, and what we will think. What we will do, what we will say, and what we will think. You have the power of deciding. When will you decide? When do you have this power? All the time. We have this power all the time. At every moment of time, we can decide in the next moment, come. Swami Vivekananda said this. He said, his famous quote which we often memorize and we quote him. He says, power will come, goodness will come, all that is good and great and excellent will come when the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. Self-conscious activity means the power of decision. I will not act out of instinct or habit. I will do something, say something and think something because that's what I decide to do. Not because of habit. No, when Bhagavan Buddha, after getting his realization, when he was walking towards Sarnath, so it seems a shepherd boy saw him and asked him, what are you? Houston Smith, in his book, The Religions of the World, he says that many people have been asked, who are you? Many people have been asked this question. We have also been asked this question. But what are you? Aap kya hai? Very few people in history have been asked this question. Are you a god? Buddha said no. Are you an angel? Buddha said no. Are you a human being? Buddha said no. Then what are you? And he said, I am the awakened. I am the Buddha. Now what he means is, he is awake. He has awakened. We are in a dream. We are in a dream. And what is this dream? One aspect of this dream is instinctual living. जैसा मेरा हैबिट है, जैसा मेरा मन बह जा रहा है, उसी तरह से जी रहे हैं. That's a dream. Swami Vivekananda's famous Arise, Awake and Stop Not Till the Goal is Reached. It is from Kathopanishad. उत्तिष्ठत जागृत मंडकोपनिषद Kathopanishad. Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata. There, if you look at the Bhashya given by Shankaracharya, Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata, he says, arise from the sleep of Maya. Anadi Ajnana Avachinna. Anadi Ajnana, beginningless Maya. We are sleeping in that dream. We are dreaming in that sleep of Maya. Awake from that, from the sleep of ignorance, and towards self-knowledge. And go to the teacher. Varan means the great teachers, and you get knowledge from them. So, self-conscious living, self-conscious activity. Now you will say that decision to hum bahut lete hain, but I cannot stick to my decision. That's the problem. Many are shaking their heads. You know why we cannot stick to a decision? Actually, what happens is, when I decide, for example, from now on, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Next day I don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I say, okay, see, I decided to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I could not. But what has happened is this. When I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I used the power of decision. Alarm baj rahi hai, abhi uthenge hum. I took the decision. Next day, I did not get up because I did not use the power of decision. I just went by my habits. So, decisions is, we make the mistake of taking decision once in a while. Resolution banaya. But we have this power, just like the power of concentration, we have this power all the time. And we are actually taking decisions or not taking decisions all the time. So, aaj fail kar gaya. The only thing you have to do is take a decision again, immediately. When will you take this decision? Minute to minute. Every minute you have the power. Every minute you do not take a decision, you have wasted that power for that minute. What will you decide? Most important, what will I think? Positive thoughts, negative thoughts. I can do it, I cannot do it. Mujhse ye nahi hoga. Both kinds of thoughts will come. And they come to even great people. The difference between an ordinary person and a great person is the great person chooses the positive thought. Makes a conscious decision to entertain only the positive thought, not to entertain the negative thought. What will I say? Say positive things about yourself and about others. It's a decision. You can say negative things also. आप दूसरों की निंदा भी कर सकते हैं, चुगली भी कर सकते हैं. We can do that. We normally do these things by habit. तुमने क्यों गाली दी उसको? वो मुझे चिढ़ा रहा था. He was behaving badly with me. See, because he was behaving badly with me, I said something bad to him. We think this is reasonable. No, in between something else has happened. We had the opportunity to decide what to say. We did not use that opportunity. जो अंदर से आया वो बोल दिया. But in between, वो जो किया है, Madhusudan Saraswati says in Gudata Deepika, para aparadha, aparadha from somebody else. And my reaction, in between there is a gap. That gap, you don't do anything, that gap will go away. That chance is gone. It's a chance to decide. How will I react? If I don't use the power of decision, what will happen? Computer के जैसे default setting है, अपने आप booting होता रहता है. So whatever has been programmed into it, that will come out. तो जैसे मेरा general programming है, it will come out. वो कुछ किया and I get angry and I react with, मैं भी गाली दे दिया. That's default setting. But you can change it. There is a gap. 600 साल पहले Madhusudan Saraswati was a great Advaitin. He says, para aparadha, kshanti, forgiveness. He says, when para aparadha, somebody makes an aparadha, para means कोई दूसरा, अपराध कर रहा है हम पर. हम वहाँ पर I have the option of deciding how to respond. How to respond to that. चित्त विकार प्राप्त हेतु प्राप्तो अपि. मन का जो मन में विकार मतलब गुस्सा आया, सैडनेस आया, मिजरी आया, इसका कारण है. There is a cause. That people are behaving badly with me. So there is a cause. Even when the cause is there, even then I can take a decision not to react in a negative way. I can take a decision to behave kindly. I can take a decision not to get upset in my mind also. So power of decision. We can decide what to say. And we can decide and we must decide what to do. And a great thing to understand about what to do is what not to do. We can cut out many things in our lives. We can simplify our lives greatly. We waste a lot of time. I see in a train station, airport, you see people are all sitting in line like this, waiting for the flight or something. Nobody looking at nobody, doing like this. In the Gita seminar in London this time, I was speaking from Upanishad, I was quoting Katha Upanishad. Paranchi khani vetrinat swayam. Our sense organs are moving outwards. That's why we cannot realize what is inside. ऐसा बनाया हुआ है हमारा. All our attention goes to the world outside. अंतरात्मा की ओर ध्यान नहीं जाता है. So we do not look inside, we look outside. After my talk, there was another lady, a very erudite lady, Suryakanti Tripathi. She is a retired IFS officer, and she was our ambassador to Spain and the Director General of ICCR. Her speech was there next, and she said, Swamiji has said we look outward, we don't look inward, but these days we don't even look outwards, we look at our screens only. So there is so much of that activity which is neither important nor urgent, it's just time wasted. So what to do when you make a decision what to do, make a decision what not to do. You'll find so many things what not to do. Not only daily life, overall in life. Has Vinayak Lohani ever come here for the forum?
He didn't come.
So he might come. He's a very interesting boy. He's from IIT Kharagpur and then he's from IIM Calcutta. From IIM Calcutta. And instead of going in for a corporate career, like all his batchmates, what he decided to do was take care of orphan children. Parivar, if you Google him, you'll find Parivar Samstha. Now he started with 3 children from the street he picked up. Now he has more than 1,000. And a very big organization. Few years ago he got the President's Award for Child Welfare and so on. Anyway, the point is, one day in talking to a group like this, somebody asked him a question. One young person asked him a question. How did you decide to do this? Your goal in life, it's a great thing you're doing. How did you decide to do this? You know what he said? He is a very thoughtful young person. He said, देखो, I did not decide to do this. मैंने बैठ के सोचा कि what should I do with my life? और कोई आंसर नहीं मिला. देखो, हम लोगों को भी वही होता है. You say, what is the goal of your life? ऐसे अचानक कोई पूछ दिया तो हम will scratch our head and think, goal वैसे तो कुछ नहीं है. We'll say. Now you see the intelligence of that person. What did he do? उनको भी लगा कि ऐसा तो खास कुछ क्या करेंगे ऐसा पता नहीं चल रहा है. Then he decided, let me think, क्या नहीं करेंगे. He made a list. अच्छा, ऐसे जो मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेट करियर तुमको अट्रैक्ट कर रहा है? नो. तो ये जो प्रोफेसर इधर है मैनेजमेंट के रिसर्चर स्कॉलर्स वो बनोगे? नो. टीचर बनोगे? नो. ऐसे करके अंदर से क्या अच्छा नहीं लगता. करते suddenly it came out from within, ये करेंगे. When you clearly cut out, ये नहीं करना है हमको. It doesn't come from within. अंदर से there is no inspiration to do this. When you keep on thinking that way, then something will come out from within that this is what I would like to do. Now, it may change later in future. Now I would like to do this. And he said, I want to do something for others. Another person asked him a question. Just see how he thinks. Another person asked him a question. How did you get this idea of taking care of young children? And then he said, I did not start with an idea. I started with a feeling. You see, great work starts with feeling. Swami Vivekananda says, head, heart and hand, but most important heart. He says, if you can feel like a Buddha, you will be a Buddha. If you can feel like a Christ, you will be a Christ. Feeling first, not the idea. Idea comes later on. I felt deeply for the suffering of the little children. Then I thought, what can I do? Then one idea came. Then he executed it. So starts with a feeling, not starts with an idea. Normally management teaching will teach you that you take a great idea and then work it out. It's an intellectual approach. This is an approach from the heart. And that's why it has so much power. That brings me to the third great power which I want to talk about this afternoon. And that is the power of unselfishness. ये concentration हम बोल रहे हैं. I was giving a talk in IIT Kanpur and afterwards I was praising the concentration of those boys and girls there, how they are working. And one of the professors said, Swami ji, आप ठीक बोल रहे हैं. जो बोल रहे हैं, these boys and girls are selected and बहुत, they have a capacity of intense focus and concentration. But I have been teaching here for last 25 years and I am disgusted with it. I mean, क्यों? It's an elite engineering institute here, the best boys and girls are coming, you are disgusted. Yes, Swamiji, I am disgusted. Why? He says, because the majority of these people, they will get some very good job here in India or go out, and let alone doing anything for others, for the country. They will not even do anything for their parents also. Not all, but many. Not even some, many. And after many years, he says, I have come to question this whole enterprise. इतना बड़ा resource लगा के government कर रहा है just to create a bunch of people who are just doing something for themselves only, nothing else. Though they may have tremendous powers of concentration. So with tremendous powers of concentration, without feeling for others, you create a monster, not even a human being. Swami Vivekananda said, that which is selfish is immoral. That which is unselfish is moral. You want to be a good person? Yeah. Very simple. Do unselfish things. Say unselfish things. Think unselfish thoughts. That which is unselfish is moral. Professor Martin Seligman, who is regarded as one of the pioneers of modern positive psychology, work experiment which I like very much. He wants to show that, you see, normally we think by being selfish, doing things for ourselves, we'll be happy. क्यों हम लोग selfish होते हैं? Because we think by doing things for ourselves, we'll be happy. Gadgets खरीदे अपने लिए, I'll be happy. Using that money for somebody else, तो मेरा कम पड़ जाएगा ना. That's what we think. If I share, मेरा कम पड़ जाएगा. And so I will be unhappy. मेरा ज़्यादा होगा तो I'll be happy. Professor Seligman, he conducted an experiment in America. One day in the class he said, आज कोई class नहीं है, आज हम लोग movie जाएंगे. And the students were very happy. So they all went to the movies. They came back from the movies. He gave a questionnaire. Psychology professor, so questionnaire. Rate the satisfaction you've got from the movie from 1 to 5. 1, 0, very little satisfaction. 5, complete satisfaction. So सब लोग कितना satisfaction मिला movie से, कुछ rating दिए, 3, 4, 5 ऐसा. Next week again in the class, he said, today we will not have a class. The students must have said, sir, movie. So not a movie. We are going to this part of the town. In America also there are parts of the town where poor people live. So we are going to that part of the town. I have already talked to people there. The kids will be assembled there from poor families. So we are going to take t-shirts, toys, and we'll mix with them, give them gifts. Afternoon we'll spend with these children. So they did that. When they came back, questionnaire, rate your satisfaction 1 to 5. So many of them rated 3, 4, 5, whatever. The interesting thing came 6 months later. Suddenly in the class, Professor Seligman gave a questionnaire. Remember 6 months ago we had gone to a movie? Now think about that movie. अब तुमको कितना satisfaction लग रहा है? 1 to 5 लिखो. So many of them said, हाँ movie तो गए थे लेकिन नाम ही याद नहीं आ रहा है. कौन सा movie था? I remember, हाँ गए थे एक movie, हम लोग एक साथ तो गए थे. उसके बाद कितना movie देखा? उसके पहले भी कितने देखे? Somebody gave 1, 2 as a satisfaction. Remember that next week we had gone and spent the time with the children there and made friends with so many kids and all? Yes sir, we remember. How much satisfaction do you feel today, 6 months later? Again 4 or 5, everybody gave. Full satisfaction. Showing that if you do something for others, the satisfaction that you get from it never goes away. It is permanent. If you look back upon your life, 6 महीने बाद, 6 साल बाद, 50 साल बाद, जो जो आपने किया है दूसरों के लिए, you will never regret it. हम अपने लिए जो करते हैं, some things we are proud of, some things we are not proud of. You will never regret it, doing things for others, number one. And the happiness that you get from things, doing things for yourself, that happiness goes away very fast. But the happiness you get from doing things for others, it never goes away. It remains as it is. तो इतना बढ़िया एक्सपेरिमेंट हमको लगा कि मैंने read about it, that he did it and he demonstrated. अपने आप देखो. So there are these two attitudes. When we have something to give, time to give, money to give, good behavior to give to others, there are two attitudes. One attitude is the prosperity attitude, one is the poverty attitude. Poverty attitude क्या होता है? दूसरों को देंगे तो मेरा कम पड़ जाएगा. जो बच्चा आ गया टिफिन मम्मी दिए हैं, दूसरों के साथ शेयर करेंगे तो मेरा कम पड़ जाएगा. That's the poverty attitude. Prosperity attitude, same kid, same tiffin. मेरे पास इतना है, I can share with my friend. He'll be happy also. It does not matter how much we have. Attitude is the same for poor people also, rich people also. One of our Swamis was saying that don't think that there is corruption only in India. He gave an example. One gentleman in America, he was made the ambassador of, US ambassador to one European country. And he is himself a multi-millionaire. He had given a lot of donation to George Bush, so that George Bush made him an ambassador to that country. तो वहाँ के स्टाफ बता रहे थे, और ये महाराज उनसे मिले थे, स्टाफ बता रहे थे कि ये जो एम्बेसडर आए थे इतना ग्रीडी है, एनीथिंग एंड एवरीथिंग जो हाथ में आया वो ले लेते, अपने घर भेज देते. ही इज अ मल्टी मिलियनर. सो व्हेन ही वाज ट्रांसफर्ड फ्रॉम दैट कंट्री टू अनदर प्लेस, वो पर्दा तक खोल के ले गए एम्बेसी से. ही इज अ मल्टी मिलियनर. कोई अभाव नहीं है उनका. So it's a poverty mentality. And the prosperity mentality मेरे पास इतना है, I can share with others. आज ही पेपर में आप देखोगे, I think Times of India somewhere is written, now there is a psychological treatment for the richest people in the world, multimillionaires and billionaires. They are suffering like anything, so they have separate psychological treatment. अब सोच रहे हैं उनका क्या किया जाए. उनमें restlessness है, isolation है, suspicion of others and guilt. Often very rich people who have become very rich very quickly, बहुत सीधे तरीके से नहीं होते, तो एक गिल्ट रह जाता है. तो what is the way out? And the 1, 2, 3, 4 लिखे हैं. One of the ways out, he says, is like Bill Gates, tremendous philanthropy, दे दो. So unselfishness makes us happy and is beneficial for others also, and it is very, very important for success in life. You see, ultimately we work together in companies, you live together in families. You cannot become successful individually, privately. Even in spiritual life, we live in ashram. You cannot have a private spirituality. Private spirituality, हम खुद spiritual बनेंगे, दुनिया भाग में जाए. बहुत जल्दी क्या होगा, अपना spirituality भी नहीं होगा. That very attitude, it's a poison inside, selfishness. So unselfishness is necessary not only for your happiness, not only for the welfare of the world, but also for success in career, in professional life, in social life, in your personal life, in spiritual life. एक बात बोल के खत्म करता हूँ. स्वामी विवेकानंद ने गिव द मोटो फॉर रामकृष्ण मिशन, आत्मनो मोक्षार्थम जगत हिताय च, अपने मोक्ष के लिए और जगत के हित के लिए. ये रामकृष्ण मिशन है. नाउ वी डिबेट समटाइम्स, ये दोनों क्यों बताए? वो इतना ही बोल सकते थे अपने मोक्ष के लिए बस, या इतना ही बोल सकते थे जगत के मंगल के लिए, कल्याण के लिए, जगत हिताय. Why both? So I was talking with another monk 2 years back. He's also a brilliant person. He used to work in San Francisco for Oracle, a very high-paying job. He gave it up and became a monk. I was talking to him, and I said, "See, I was jagat ka hit karna hai, theek hai. It's a very nice thing, but it did not motivate me. What motivated me was the call of spiritual life. That can we actually see God? Can we realize God? Can God be experienced? This is what motivated me to become a monk. And of course, doing social work for everybody, that's good. But that was not the main thing. Aaj hum, after so many years, I feel the two are not separate. If I really want spirituality, I also must be unselfish. जगत हिताय और आत्मनो मोक्षार्थम, ये दोनों अलग नहीं है. तो वो जो मंक हम जिसको बोल रहे थे, he laughed and he said, अच्छा आपने ऐसा मंक बना. तो he said, I became a monk. I thought that meditation, realization of God, ये सब ठीक है, but I really want to do something for others. जगत हिताय, इसलिए मैंने मंक बना. आज 20 साल पहले बाद आके I feel unless we have an inner spiritual quest, one cannot really do good work for others. तो आत्मनो मोक्षार्थम इंपॉर्टेंट है, आज हमको पता चल रहा है. एंड आई सेड, आज हमको पता चल रहा है जगत हिताय इंपॉर्टेंट है, एज इंपॉर्टेंट एज आत्मनो मोक्षार्थम. बेसिकली अनसेल्फिशनेस एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी हैव अ वेरी डीप कनेक्शन. 3 powers. Number 1, power of concentration. Number 2, decision making. क्या डिसीजन लोगे? What to think, what to say. First think, then say, then do. Because thinking is the subtlest. उसके बाद मुंह से निकलता है, उसके बाद काम में आता है. When will you take this decision? All the time. 1 मिनट भी आप डिसीजन लेना बंद कर दिए, you have lost that opportunity. वो हर सेकंड आता है opportunity, वो चला जाता है फिर. Don't say that decision लिया, I cannot follow my decision. No, you cannot follow your decision because you are not taking decisions. Third, power of unselfishness. Makes you happy, it's for the welfare of the world, and makes you successful. Thank you. Okay.
Questions है कुछ अपने?
Yeah.
So as you said that
we must become aware of what thoughts are there in our minds. One very powerful method of choosing a thought, I'll tell you this, just think about it, is जप. जो लोग मंत्र दीक्षा लिए हैं, You see, what happens is this. Patanjali Yoga Sutra का नाम सुना है? And in that, I think in the one of the early sutras, there is a commentary on that written by Vyasa Bhashya. He says what happens to our mind is, we have a lot of samskaras, subconscious mind, tendencies, memories, and those things are bubbling up. जैसे लेक में नीचे से बबल उठता है ऊपर. Those thoughts are coming up from our subconscious. And it is called a vritti. जो thought मन में आता है vritti. And what thought remains in our mind again and again, that becomes a samskar again. It goes back into the deep into the mind. तो कहाँ से आता है? संस्कार से आता है. संस्कार क्या है? The stored up tendencies throughout our life, maybe from past lives also. जो हमने किया है, सोचा है, बोला है, ये habit बन गया है. That's a samskar. And from that samskar, thoughts come. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. Those thoughts are called vritti. और जो वृत्ति हम मन में पकड़ के रखते हैं, that becomes a samskar again. तो think of it like a cycle. जो नीचे है गहरा है, in the depth it is called samskara. When it comes to the surface, हमको लगता है I have a desire to eat chocolate now. तो ये वृत्ति बन गया, चॉकलेट विषयक वृत्ति. और कहाँ से आया? चॉकलेट विषयक संस्कार से आया है. संस्कार कहाँ से आया? many years of practice from childhood. वो बन गया है एक संस्कार. Now these things keep bubbling up. Now the commentary, Vyasa commentary on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, he says, very beautifully he says, Evam vritti samskara chakra ahar-nisham avartaman, दिन रात ये घूमता रहता है ये चक्र. Now हमारा संस्कार जो है, we cannot change it directly. जो हमारा subconscious mind है, we don't have access. कहाँ है, कैसा है, we don't know. अगर पता चलता तब तो झाड़ू लेके एकदम स्वच्छ भारत कर देते, वहां पर जाके साफ कर देते उसको. लेकिन वो हाथ में नहीं है हम लोगों का. The only thing we can do is that ये जो वृत्ति मन में आ रहा है, those we can become aware. क्या thoughts आ रहे हैं मन में? And when those thoughts are coming, at that point you can make a decision to substitute positive thought for the thought negative thought. जो आपके पास, जिस पर आप concentrate करना चाहते हैं, उस चीज का थॉट आप डालते जाइए मन में again and again and again. क्या होगा? पहले हैबिट नहीं है तो इसीलिए दैट थॉट गोज अवे एंड आवर संस्कार से जो थॉट आ रहा है वही आता जाएगा. बट ओवर द टाइम, धीरे धीरे, रिमेंबर, जो वृत्ति मन में हम पकड़ के रखते, दैट गोज बैक इनटू द संस्कार. वो संस्कार बनना शुरू हो जाता है. एज वी डू इट, धीरे धीरे वो हैबिट बन जाएगा. देन यू विल सी दोज गुड थॉट्स आर कमिंग अप ऑटोमेटिकली विदाउट योर एफर्ट. This is the basic technology. So you make a decision what thought you will entertain now in your mind. Maybe you will lose that thought next second also. Again 5 मिनट बाद याद आएगा कि हम तो ईश्वर की चिंता कर रहे थे, अब कौन सा चिंता आ गया. Again bring that thought back into your mind. Take a decision. फिर ईश्वर का चिंता करेंगे. Now I was saying मंत्र जप कैसे हेल्प करता है इधर. What it does is like this. Normally our thinking is like a monkey jumping from tree to tree. One tree is there and then another tree is there. I am like a monkey climbs the tree, catches hold of a branch, another branch is there, jumps to that branch. From that branch another tree, there's a branch, it jumps to that branch. एक tree से दूसरा tree. You think of your hall. Then you think next air condition. अच्छा air condition ठंडा देश कौन सा? स्विट्जरलैंड है. स्विट्जरलैंड का चॉकलेट बहुत बढ़िया है. चॉकलेट हमको अच्छा लगता है, फिर से चॉकलेट खाएंगे. You see how कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया. And our mind normally goes like that. Now what japa does is, it will एक कोई ओम नमः शिवाय और समथिंग जो गुरु बताए हैं या जो खुद कर रहे हैं आप जब, उसपे क्या है, the mind has to repeat the same thought again and again and again and again. It is like you climb up the tree, you're not allowed to jump from that tree to the next tree. You get down from it, again you climb the same tree. चले गए एक ट्री से दूसरा ट्री चला, मन चला जाता है. But then because you are doing japa, you know I am doing japa, so you have to come back again and climb the same tree. तो ये मन रूपी जो मंकी है, स्वामी विवेकानंद इसको मंकी का एग्जाम्पल दिए हैं, ये मंकी का ट्रेनिंग हो जाता है. Not to jump around from place to place, but to stay on the same tree. You get the idea? एक जगह से दूसरा जंपिंग नहीं करके, दूसरा आइडिया आ गया, उधर चला गया, नहीं, हम जप कर रहे हैं, फिर आ गया ओम नमः शिवाय, same one. And slowly the mind becomes calmed down. This is a basic, one fundamental psychology behind the power of japa. और भी है इसका, मंत्र का अपना power है, but this psychological thing, training the mind to stick to one thought again and again and again instead of jumping from thought to thought. So that's how you select thoughts. Introspection, calming down. Mantra jap itself makes you look inside. The moment you do mantra jap, this is one method. The moment you do mantra jap, what happens is you immediately become aware of what is going on inside. क्योंकि जब कर रहे हैं तो otherwise we are not aware. Meditation is a very good way of becoming aware of what is going on in the mind. Normally we are not aware of what's going on in our minds. We are so much involved in the world outside that we do not know what's going on in our minds. When sometimes people say, Swamiji, I was very happy earlier, calm and peaceful. When I started meditating, my mind became disturbed. It's not that you were happy and peaceful earlier. What had happened was, I was not aware of what is going on in the mind earlier. Now when I try to meditate, I'm trying to bring my mind under control, I realize that my mind is out of control. ऐसा लगता है कि mind has become disturbed. It has not become disturbed because of meditation. It was disturbed. Now we're trying to bring it under control. That's why it seems disturbed. Earlier we used to have ink pen, fountain pen. तो उसका ink bottle होता था. The ink bottle se we used to draw ink. Normally that bottle looks okay. Some ink used to always residue was there at the bottom. If you try to clean it, suddenly you will see lot of dark matter is coming out. Almost deep blue, black water will be coming out. Afterwards, धीरे धीरे वही water light blue हो जाएगा. उसके बाद पूरा water पूरा clear हो जाएगा. Because so much of samskaras are there. When you try to control it, try to purify it, at first disturbance is natural. In fact, one of the best ways, sir will tell you, nowadays communication is done in short sentences, speaking and writing. Don't use words like and, so, therefore. Stop, start a new sentence. Stop, start a new sentence. That's a very good way of speaking and writing too. Alright, thank you very much. It is not that if you have such a high task, a high noble idea or pursuit in life, you're lucky. But even then, that is not the end. Even such people who are deeply interested in a particular subject, you take them and make them face the problems of life, sometimes they may break down. So just having a subject which you love and you are working hard at it, that's you're lucky, but that's not all of life. And that is not yoga. Swami Vivekananda says, even a fool can do the things which he loves to perfection. But to do everything with the fullest possible attention, even the littlest things, even the things which we do not like, that is yoga. Yoga karma sukhaushalam. So, what I meant was, when one can pursue something with that concentration, that means the mind has that capacity. Using that capacity in our day-to-day lives, in whatever our occupation, whatever our circumstance in life, that is yoga. Yoga karma sukhaushalam. Any great kind of work where the people are clapping, or you by your own samskaras, you are lucky to have the kind of work which you can do very well, then you are lucky in one sense. You will be able to get absorbed in that. But most people do not have that. And that is also not the highest thing. The highest thing is able to train the mind, to use the inherent capacities of the mind so that we can do everything with focus and absorption. There's this Zen teacher, a very accomplished, tremendous Zen teacher, with tremendous power of concentration. So his disciple asked him, "Sir, what is your miracle?" And he said, "My miracle is I cut the wood, I draw water from the well, that is miracle for me." How? It means that whatever I'm doing with full absorption. Cutting the wood is meditation for me. Drawing water from the well is meditation for me.
Miracle of mindfulness.
Miracle of mindfulness, Thich Nhat Hanh.
Making teas.
Yes, to concentrate in even the smallest things. There's this other thing I wanted to tell you. Yes, 2 students went to a Zen teacher to learn Zen Buddhism. After a few days, one of the students got impatient. What is the use of remaining near this teacher? he is not giving us any lecture on Buddhism and time is being wasted. I will go away. चलो हम लोग चले जाते हैं यहाँ से, कुछ सिखा ही नहीं रहा है हम लोगों को. Then the other student said, no, I am satisfied. I will stay here. His friend said, what are you satisfied about? Not even one class on Buddhist philosophy, and one class on Zen Buddhism. Nothing he has taught us. What did you learn? What have you come here for? And that student replied, I have come here to see how he ties his shoelace. सबसे छोटी काम जो कर रहे हैं वो, most ordinary work which the teacher Zen master is doing, I have come to see that. हमको बहुत satisfaction है, देखिए इनको. So he is a real student and the teacher is a real teacher. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So it was a kind of a sudden, Deepavali time, people get bonus. So it's a big bonus for all of us. So Maharaj actually is going abroad. He'll be in America in a month and a half's time. So probably I don't think he'll come to Delhi immediately. But the next time when he passes through India, I hope he will remember Delhi and come back and delight us
definitely.
with a lot of his American stock and stuff, whatever he picks up.